Welcome, everybody, to Conversations That Matter. I'm your host, Alex Newman. It is an honor and a pleasure to be with you. We have a very special guest joining us today to talk about a region of the world that most Americans don't spend a lot of time thinking about. I refer, of course, to the nation of Albania. I was there just a few years ago. Interesting place. And we have the former president of Albania joining us. His name is Sali Berisha. He is an icon of the anti-communist movement in Albania. He was the first democratically elected president there back in 1992 after the ostensible collapse of communism. He became a successful prime minister from 2005 to 2013, and under his leadership, Albania joined NATO and became a candidate for EU membership. He has been trying to bring Albania closer to kind of the Euro-Atlantic world, if you will, the Western world, the United States, EU, and he's done a lot of work in the broader Balkans region. He's worked closely with various American presidents and had some fallout with Joe Biden and Secretary of State Blinken. We'll talk about that. George Soros, of course, has been very active in Albania. That's one of the reasons we are interested in bringing Berisha to you. He has been on the receiving end of some of those operations, and very, very significant because it's actually happening on a broader level, not just in the region, but worldwide. People call Dr. Berisha by a lot of different names. He's been in politics, of course. He was a cardiac surgeon before entering his political life. He served as a professor, and he has done a lot. Today, he is leading the opposition to the current regime in power, the Socialist Party in Albania, which is actually the direct descendant of the Labor Party that ruled Albania with an iron fist during communist times. So very, very interesting things going on there. There were some very questionable elections in May of 2025 that brought a guy that critics are calling Ramaduro. His name is Rama. He was the mayor of Tirana. Today, he is being accused of massive corruption, of treating the people of Albania very much like Maduro treats the Venezuelan people in Venezuela. And Dr. Berisha is now asking the U.S. government to designate some of these cartels as terrorist organizations, partly because of the massive influence they play in harming his country. Dr. Berisha, welcome to the program. It's a great honor to have you with us today.
It's a great pleasure, honor for me to be with you. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Absolutely. Really appreciate it. So, Dr. Berisha, there's a major piece in Fox News this week about the situation in Albania. It looks like it's deteriorating rapidly. You had some dubious elections there in May, brought in the former mayor of Tirana into power, this individual they call Ramaduro, known as Rama in Albania. And apparently George Soros has been very active in your country. Talk to us about what's going on in Albania and how it concerns the United States.
If you look at Albania after Edi Rama came in power, easy to find that Albania became the first and only narco state in Europe, whereas, in the other hand, it's a republic of George Soros. Allow me to brief shortly about. Edi Rama came in power strongly linked with gangs, thugs, and criminal organization. But at the other time, his origin, he belonged to a family. His father signed to hang people in '88 because of their dissidency. Why I'm stressing that? For him, the crime is utile, is helpful. So after he became prime minister, he strengthened tremendously his ties and his links with organized crime. 2015, Edi Rama planted overall Albania with cannabis, and after billions of dollars were created with these plantations, Albanians jumped in Latin America. Today, they run Sinaloa of Mexico. They run cartels in Colombia, in Ecuador, Bolivia. They are amongst the most powerful, but they are very, very closely linked with Edi Rama. Their money is flowing to Albania, and if you look at the economy, it's a typical narco economy. In what sense? In the sense that industrial production is falling down year by year. Exports are falling, whereas the economy keeps at 3.5% because of construction. Today, my country has an index of construction 3 times average of index of construction European Union. In his office, Edi Rama has a coordinator called Ergüs Agassi, which coordinate all activities of drug cartels. In Albania, the port of Durrës is given by Edi Rama to the Troplini cartel, one of the most dangerous in Europe. The highway of heroin from eastern Afghanistan, Turkey, and other countries is given to another cartel, which is called Telay cartel. That is, it's a mixture with crime, and as a matter of fact, crime is more potent than the state is. But on the other hand, Albania is the George Soros Republic. If you look at the political map of the planet, you find no country where George Soros had experimented his own left extremist ideas and supported more than anyone else Edi Rama. In 2013, the end of 13, OSF Albania drafted a secret document in which they foresee, first, constitutional reform of Albania, second, judicial reform of Albania, third, election reform of Albania. To complete these reforms, Edi Rama, OSF Tirana, have had extraordinary support from State Department. And with this reform,
From the U.S. State Department, right?
Yes, absolutely. Biden administration. And they have had, the fact is, the judicial reform brought a system fully controlled by the executive. This is, well, the other hand, there is almost, for ordinary citizen, there is almost no judicial process because the stock created in files because of vacuums and witch hunting through the vetting did now prolong a process up to 20 years. But let's take the other aspect. It turned the judicial in weapon in hand of Edi Rama. It was an election year this year. 3 leaders of main opposition party were in jail, house arrest, or penal prosecution with no penal fact. MPs are prosecuted. 90% of media, which are, I'm telling what also wrote international reports, are controlled by government. And last election were a real farce where the electoral state ran against some prosecuted opposition parties. This electoral state or party state used all kinds of resources, billions of dollars, enormous human potential, logistic potentials, and also drugs to buy votes, to control the will of the people. This is where, as a result, what you have, as a result, Albanians flee the country from 2014 to 2023. 1,099,000 Albanians left the country only for Schengen areas, without counting here United States, Canada, UK, Australia, and other countries. This is a narco regime strongly supported by George Soros even today.
It's amazing. And Americans, I know a lot of you aren't really thinking about Albania in your everyday lives, but Albania is a member of NATO. And it appears to me, at least as an outsider, that it's moving very rapidly back into communism, the very system that Americans spent so much time, so much treasure, so many lives fighting against over the last few decades. Dr. Berisha, I want to ask you about a Soviet defector. I'm not sure if you know him, but his name was Anatoly Golitsyn, and he defected to the United States and warned our government about long-range plans in the KGB to create disinformation operations that would lead the West to believe that communism had essentially been destroyed, that the West had been victorious, and that there was nothing more to worry about. And one of the things that he warns about, and he addresses Albania quite a bit in his books, New Lies for Old and the Perestroika Deception, one of the things he warns about is that the former communist parties of the behind the Iron Curtain, the communist bloc, would rename themselves, would reinvent themselves, and would remain in power. The leader of Albania right now, after these dubious elections, Mr. Edi Rama, actually is the leader of the Socialist Party, which is the direct descendant of the Labour Party that ruled Albania during communist times. Do you think Albania is in danger of going back under communist tyranny under these current conditions? And what does that mean for NATO? What does that mean for the Western world?
I fully agree with the defector, what his provision. In 91, Jim Baker paid a visit to Albania. I was 3-4 months politician. He put me a question. Sali, did communism disappear? I told him, sir, his dust is very toxic, and it persisted. I think, as you put me that question, the background was the former regime, but the new food and new push was George Soros, which supported the former communists, the former secret police people, the former secret police NGOs and communist NGOs, more than anyone else. But unfortunately, this extreme left have had a great progress also in United States itself. Look, today or yesterday, I read that an extreme left person is going to become the mayor of New York. And this is a terrible news for us and for other countries. So I believe extreme left is in revival, not only in former communist countries, but in most countries.
Yeah, it's very alarming, and yeah, what's happening in New York, I think a lot of Americans from outside of New York are looking at that and saying, whoa. Dr. Berisha, we've only got a few minutes left. I'm curious, what do you think the United States, especially the U.S. government, the Trump administration, ought to be doing with all this information? And you're right, it's not just isolated to Albania. It's happening in a lot of other places. We're seeing very significant progress by George Soros' allies all over the world, not just across Europe, but in Latin America. What should the U.S. government be doing about this very significant problem, this very significant threat to freedom around the world?
I think keeping the agenda of freedom is vital. As regards to Albania, there are some just beginnings. I salute the message that Justice Department of United States brought to this government to fight cartels. But this government to fight cartels should fight itself, because is Almost the same with drug cartels. Insisting for free and fair elections is of fundamental importance. Fortunately, this time, these elections were not greeted. However, I think they deserved a greater attention and a clear crystal stand because they were a farce and they do not represent the will of the people. Fighting or standing against a weaponized justice, which you have this Alec Bragg in New York. We have our prosecutor identical, which do nothing else that political adversary huntings. But if nations do not get free from politicized and weaponized justice, they fell in dictatorship sooner or later. This is a big, our experience. We have had a justice in dictatorship, but dictatorship justice penalized adversaries, also ordinary criminals. What is happening today? The same.
Yeah. And final thoughts, Dr. Berisha, Professor Berisha, for the American people. What is your advice for Americans in these times? You're absolutely right about the weaponization of the Justice Department and the justice system. Even here in the United States, I don't think it's to the extent that we're seeing in Albania, but of course we saw that here. What's your advice to Americans about how to preserve freedom in their own country in the face of the rise of this extreme left and the operations of people like George Soros who want to erode these traditional democratic values?
There is no greater enemy for human beings than those who promote and weaponize justice, censorship, and post-Marxist ideologies on gender, etc. But I think these have had terrible negative consequences in all the world. And I hope United States will stand, and United States people will stand as free people against these phenomena which represent the real extreme left and the real danger for freedom.
Absolutely. And Dr. Berisha, is there any place where people can learn more? Are you on social media? Is there some place where people can follow developments in Albania if they want to keep on top of all this?
I am very active in Facebook and TikTok. These are my mostly used, and also X, but less in X.
Very good. Well, folks, I hope you will go follow Dr. Berisha. This is an important issue. Dr. Sali Berisha, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for sharing this very alarming report from Albania. We appreciate you joining us today. We appreciate you sharing all this critical information.
Thank you very, very much. It was a great occasion for me to present this terrible situation in my country, which now is led by a narco dictator called Ramaduro Apo Edi Rama.
Yeah, it's, folks, very alarming, right? And it's not just Albania. Albania is one of the many nations facing these same kinds of threats. They may be further along the road than many others, including our own, but let it be a warning to you, folks. Freedom has to be constantly defended. Dr. Sali Berisha, former Prime Minister, former President of Albania, thank you once again for joining us today. I hope you will keep us updated, and I hope we can talk again.
It was a great honor, great pleasure for me. Thank you for inviting me, Mr. Miller.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And you, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. We encourage you to share this information out with your elected officials, with your friends, with the community leaders. Again, powerful warning from the other side of the world, but we need to be paying attention. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Alex Newman. This is Conversations That Matter for the New American. Until next time, God bless you all.